based on us just when we return it and push it in here. So what we want to do is go through all the results in this array. So let's make our key. So our key is basically going to be res.accountID plus res.result context plus res.result name. So we're going to grab our array list of user results out of this thing. And if the list is null, then list equals new list, and user result map, put key and list, and then we just do list.add res. So this thing will maintain its order for all that stuff. So what we want to do after this is we want to get the highest value in this thing. So while we're already iterating through this, we can actually just throw a long in here for this hash map. So this will be user best Does this matter? I don't think it matters. So it's after we do all this, then we have to iterate over this stuff all over again. So we're going to go through every user result here. And our values, and so if list.size equals 0, just continue. So we'll do our max value. So our max is going to be list.get 0, and then we'll just do for I equals 0, I is less than list.size, I plus plus, and we'll start at 1. All right, so if list.get I.stat value is greater than or equal to max, then max index equals I, max equals our stat value. And these are going to be things that we want to delete. So these will be things to delete. Okay, we actually need to do a different approach here. So this is going to be like, while the list is so while list.size is greater than this, we will do things. No, what am I doing? No. This is, okay. So what we want to do is we want to null out the maximum. All right, so we'll just null this thing out, and so the number of things we should remove is going to be the size minus kept results for user. And we're going to subtract 1 from that. So these things are in descending order of time. So we want to remove from the bottom of the array All right, so basically go from the bottom of the array back to the start while I is greater than 0 and the removes is greater than 0. Remove, just add a key to delete. So keys to delete dot add the list dot get I dot result ID. Yeah, result ID. So what that'll do is we've nulled it out, so we're not going to do that. We're not doing any array manipulation or anything else, so it should be real fast. It should just blaze through that and figure out what all the keys to delete are. So then we wanted to delete the keys. satsdb.delete from user results batch. Yeah, it looks like I don't have like an array sort of thing there, so we're going to have to make another prepared statement here. So instead of having a keys to delete here, so string builder b, this will be delete b. So this is going to be, we want to get the user result. Yeah, stop it, IntelliSense. We don't need it. So we'll just append these question marks all along this thing. And we actually do need an array list of IDs, it looks like. Just because we have to do this in the prepared statement, so... Alright, so we do have to do that. So we got our prepared statement. So basically the reason why we're doing this inline here when we do the insert is because we already know the answers and we don't have to do like some offline database crawl or some other crap. So let's just not do that. Let's just keep our house in order as we are living in it, instead of every night doing the dishes. We'll just do the dishes when we're finished eating. Okay, so now I actually have to insert everything. Well, that should be the easy part, right? Like, all I do is go through every single one of these reports and make a new batch insert thing. How many times are we going to iterate over all this crap? Probably, if we've iterated once, we've probably iterated enough. Alright, so... we could do it inside of this string builder stuff. But I'd rather keep it separate. Just because... So we want an array list of stat, user results. So, this is going to be result ID. So a random one. So that'll do that, and then all we have to do is a batch insert. So statsdb dot batch insert, or is it like just insert batch into user results, and we just pass in results to insert. So that is that call finished. Excellent. I'll be right back. Okay, so we have three more calls to implement, which is the first one is to get the intervals. So what that would do is that would make a UI screen where we're like, oh, you can look back in the last year and find out what you want to look at. And so you could go click on that, and then it would go load that interval from the back end. So get intervals. What does that look like? So get intervals takes interval context, a start time, and an end time. So it should actually be pretty simple to implement. Okay, so for the interval context, so basically if request.interval context equals null, then we probably want to do all the contexts. So I think it's going to be another prepared statement. So actually, no, we don't need to do any of that. So if okay, we're going to want to say if request dot start time equals null, request dot start time equals 0, and if request dot end time equals null, then request dot end time I'm just trying to think about some of this. Because the start time and end times so like all time is all time. I don't know. I think I'll have to do some special logic on the front. So we want to fetch all the intervals, but we have some conditions for this, basically because the all-time one starts at 0 and ends never as well, so it's like a 0, 0. So it's actually kind of an issue. And if we just fetch like everything, then like every day has a thing, and you're fetching, like 1,000 different stat intervals, which isn't what we want. trying to think of the way I want this to be implemented, because when I'm on the client, basically I want to write a call that's like, just give me all the stuff that I need. And it's going to be, give me the all-time, seasonal, monthly, weekly, and daily results for this set of stuff. I need just a separate call for it, is what it looks like. No, interval IDs is null. We'll just grab the top couple. So why would we call get intervals? Get intervals is going to tell us specific information. So what I can do here is this get intervals call is going to be used for like the big history tables of something. So you're going to call like get all-time stats, because you'll go view the all-time stats, and then it'll be like give me the all-time stats thing, and it'll be like, okay, interval ID 55. All right, cool. So this interval is right here. Awesome. And you can fetch it. So what we want to do is we should always have these things well defined, and we want to put a limit on it and just make a simple damned call. That still doesn't work. I guess I should just make it simple and just be like, well, okay, so if request dot, interval context does not equal null, and we'll just let the client figure out how to do some of this, and we'll just limit it to like, you can only get like 50 or so back. How about that? Yeah, 100. So this is going to be, is it user interval? It's just stat interval. Alright, let's go snag our stats DB. Do we not have this in the database? Get from user. Alright, so that should do that. Now we need a response. And we'll return OK. Alright, 2 more. Okay, so this is the interval stat leaderboard. So this will be like the top 10 scorers for the last week is what this would be. Okay, so we're going to say if request dot interval IDs is null, then what we'll do is fetch our latest stat intervals. So snag all the basics, all the latest, put it in there. Stat context, stat names. Oh, stat context is just a single thing. That makes sense somewhat. It's like these are all the online high scores. Yeah, it makes sense. Kind of also makes sense that it could be an array and you could fetch both. Which is what we should do. We're already making all this stuff this way. We shouldn't stop there. All right, we'll do our validation. So we've got this thing where you can include other users specifically. So we'll allow that. And then we have include self as true in that one. All right. So now we need to build all of our prepared statements and then return our user stat history stuff. So it's going to be, we'll start with the context. So if request.stat contexts does not equal null, so we're going to go through every context. I'm going to do b.append I got to do all this concatenation stuff, so it's going to be this stats . What is the table? User stats history? Table type of user stats history. Stat contexts. Okay, still working. So stat context. And we're going to need the stat intervals. Okay, so I think that's the first request, which is like get the top in there. And what we want to do is shit, this is actually more complicated than I thought. So what I need to do is I need to basically group these things by their stat context and stat name and interval ID, and I need to limit them by that. So I could do a whole bunch of different database calls for this. Like for every interval ID, stat context, and stat name, do a different fetch. But that's all right. So let me see. Fuck. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, goddamn. Okay, so in order to do this, I need to do like a huge amount of inner joins and all sorts of shit. So basically, we would select the rows that we wanted, and then we select again. So we would grab the row, we'd select star from this thing, and we would basically have these inner selects. So we do select this and select that and select that and select that and select that. So it'd be like select everything, and we'd have these ands here, and I'm gonna have to think about it. Because basically I want the top scores for 50 different stats, and I want it in a single database call. It's basically like, for all these stats and everything, so do another select. So it's like this big list of, like, select star from blah, inner join, like, and then do like join, select star from blah, and just like this thing going down the list for 50 different stat combinations. The answer to this might be something else. The answer to this might be that I should cache all the actual answers and pull all this stuff up myself, and then basically you can fetch some extra users information, but for all the active interval IDs, we'll like every minute or something go fetch all the basics and the hot ones, and we'll cache results or something for something else. So why don't we think about this? So if we have 50 calls for top 100, so it's basically going to be, let's say, 1 millisecond per call. We're going to at least get 50 milliseconds block. So cache result as unique key. Keep results in cache for X time as JSON. I'm getting there. But I'm pretty much at the end of my working capacity for today. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to